The courtroom was silent, but the streets of Huntsville were screaming. Martell Holt, the man who spent months preaching about fatherhood, structure, and family, didn't even show up when it mattered most. After all that talk about being a devoted dad and fighting for his kids, when the judge called his name, he was nowhere to be found. And that absence spoke louder than any interview, any Instagram caption, or any speech about love and responsibility. Melody Cherie, the woman who carried that family through betrayal, chaos, and public humiliation, finally stood in her truth and walked out with her peace intact. While Martell smiled for cameras, Melody smiled for freedom. Fans who once doubted her strength are now calling her the quiet storm, because she didn't have to drag anyone to win, she just let the truth unfold. And as for Martell, the same man who claimed he'd never give up, it turns out maybe he never really intended to fight at all. When the lights fade and the filming stops, the only thing that remains is what's real. And what's real is this. Melody won her peace, Martell lost his credibility, and the internet isn't letting him forget it. Martell Holt always prided himself on being the man who valued order, structure, and discipline. He spoke about it constantly, how he taught his children manners, respect, and the importance of cleanliness and routine. In interviews, he made it sound like he was the pillar of family values, the example every father should follow. But when the time came to actually prove those words in front of a judge, the story took a turn no one saw coming. After months of declaring his love for his children and promising to fight for joint custody, Martell failed to appear in court. That moment shattered the image he had spent years trying to protect. People couldn't believe it because this was the same man who gave speeches about fatherhood, who said he'd never back down until things were fair. Yet when it mattered most, he didn't even walk into the courtroom. Fans began to question whether his entire fight was genuine or just another performance for the cameras. Melody Cherie, on the other hand, handled everything with a calm strength that spoke volumes. She didn't need to shout, post, or prove anything. Her silence, her composure, and her focus on her children said everything that needed to be said. This was a woman who had been through public betrayal, humiliation, and heartbreak, yet she still stood tall. When she told the world she didn't want child support, people thought she was being too strong for her own good. But what they missed was her message. She wasn't asking for Martell's money, she was asking for peace. She wanted control over her life and her children without having to depend on a man who had already disappointed her in too many ways. Still, some fans argue she should have taken the support, not because she needed it, but because it's about what the children deserve. Raising 4 kids alone isn't easy, and even the strongest woman deserves help. But Melody has always played the long game, choosing stability and self-respect over dependency. While she focused on peace, Martell shifted focus to presentation. Smiling in photos, promoting his wine brand, and posting as if life couldn't be better. That's when the whispers began. People started wondering if this custody fight was never about the kids, but about control. Maybe Martell never wanted the full-time responsibility of being a parent. Maybe he wanted the title of good father, without the 24/7 grind that comes with it. Because when you think about it, missing court doesn't just happen by accident. Especially not for someone who's been talking about fatherhood for years. It looked like a choice, one that said a lot about where his priorities truly were. For Melody, it was confirmation that she made the right decision walking away. And for the fans watching from the sidelines, it was the moment they realized that sometimes silence wins louder than any argument. The internet couldn't stop talking once word spread that Martell skipped court. People started piecing things together, and every detail made his absence look more intentional than accidental. Because let's be honest, when a man is truly fighting for his kids, nothing, not filming, not business, not image, comes before that courtroom date. Yet Martell was out smiling, promoting, and living as if nothing had happened. To many, that was the confirmation they needed that his fight for custody was more about pride and publicity than parenting. What made it even messier was Arionne Curry's quiet but telling presence. The moment news of the court decision broke, fans noticed her posts, smiling selfies, confident captions, and that same energy she gives when she feels like she's winning. She had said before that she didn't want to wake up early, deal with school routines, or care for kids who weren't hers. And now, with Martell only getting the kids on 2 weekends a month, she got exactly what she wanted. No interruptions, no competition, just her time with Martell when it fits their schedule. It didn't take long for fans to suggest that maybe this was planned all along, that Martell and Arionne had agreed this outcome would make life easier for both of them. Less responsibility, less stress, and still enough freedom to keep their image intact. Meanwhile, Melody didn't need to post anything to make her point. Her piece spoke louder than any caption. She had her kids full-time, her mother by her side, and a home filled with stability. She wasn't running to social media to prove her win. She was simply living it. That's what makes her victory so powerful. It's quiet, it's steady, and it's undeniable. Martell might have walked out with his freedom, but Melody walked away with something far more valuable: control, dignity, and peace. And that's what people respect. Because in the end, actions always tell the real story. And this one proved exactly who was fighting for family and who was fighting for fame. As the dust settled, fans started dissecting every angle of Martell's behavior, and the more they looked, the clearer the pattern became. He wasn't a man crushed by a courtroom loss. He was a man relieved by it. His social media reflected freedom, not frustration. No statements, no remorse, just smiles, brand promos, and a life that looked suddenly lighter. That's when people realized this might have been his goal all along, to let the court make the hard decision so he could claim innocence without ever admitting defeat. Because as long as he could say, "The judge decided," he didn't have to own the fact that he'd given up. Arionne's quiet satisfaction only added to the story. Her posts stayed up, her energy calm, her silence loud. She didn't need to drag anyone or post cryptic messages anymore. She had what she wanted: Martell's time, his attention, and a life without the extra chaos of his kids' daily routines. For her, it was balance. For him, it was escape. But for Melody, it was closure. With her mother Vanessa's unwavering support, she could finally raise her children in the peace she'd been craving since the divorce. No shared drama, no split tension, just stability. Her fans rallied behind her, calling her strength unmatched, her silence powerful, and her grace the ultimate victory. Even Martell's castmates couldn't ignore the irony. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others simply hoped he'd learn from it. But anyone who's followed Love and Marriage Huntsville knows this isn't the end. In that world, every quiet chapter turns loud again. Whether it's a reunion, a live stream, or another public argument, this custody story will resurface because truth always does. Yet right now, the message is simple. Melody won without shouting, Martell lost without realizing, and the internet will never let him rewrite what happened. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's the loudest way to prove you've outgrown the fight, and that's where the story settles for now, but not for long. Because in the world of reality television and public relationships, nothing ever truly ends. There will be new interviews, new lives, new reactions, and maybe even a few carefully crafted apologies, but the internet doesn't forget. The court date that Martell skipped will always stand as a symbol of what really mattered and what didn't. For Melody, this moment marks the beginning of something new. She finally gets to parent in peace, make her own decisions, and build the life she always wanted for her children without having to defend it to anyone. She's proving that healing doesn't have to be loud, and that winning quietly can be the strongest message of all. For Martell, though, this might just be the start of a long reckoning. His charm, his image, and his words can only take him so far before reality catches up. And when it does, no brand, no caption, and no camera can save what pride has already cost him. As for Arionne, she got what she wanted for now, but peace built on someone else's loss never lasts long. When the lights fade and the show moves on, real life begins, and that's where true character shows. One thing's for sure, this story is far from finished, and every move they make from here will tell us more than any confession ever could. So stay locked in, because when the next chapter unfolds, you already know where the truth will spill first, right here on Echo Spill, where reality meets receipts, and silence still speaks louder than the lies.